What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel, The Kissing Booth 3, the third entry. The franchise is finally here. We're going to talk about it today, no spoilers. As you can tell, I'm at a different location, still on vacation, but I woke up early to watch this movie, so was it worth it? It is the summer before Elle heads to college, and she's facing the hardest decision of her life, whether to move across the country with her dreamy boyfriend Noah, or fulfill her lifelong promise to go to college with her BFF Lee, whose heart will Elle break? Mine? So I want to start here. If you're a fan of the franchise, you know exactly what you're in for with this third film. And it's a film that does capitalize on a lot of things that the first two movies set up, and I will not lie, I think the cast is, or could be in a different setting, compelling, right? They have quirks about them that have carried over into the third movie, and so many different things that are set up as, you know, entertaining elements, and it's directed towards a very specific audience, you know, coming of age, so obviously younger, teenager, that crowd, they're going to watch this film, and if you've never seen anything like it before, you're probably going to enjoy it, and capping off the story in a way that was positive as opposed to negative. Not going to spoil it for anybody, but it's kind of like, oh, okay, they ended up in a place that does leave open a possibility, but this has to be the last movie in the franchise because they did tell the story that I think they wanted to tell. But in terms of what this movie does as a film, as a cohesive product, that's really where it starts to fall flat for me. It's just a lot of montages, man, and it felt like they didn't necessarily know what they wanted to do with this movie other than to make it a fun summer vacation film. But the crux of the story, what keeps it somewhat compelling, is that decision that Elle is facing, and it seems like every 5 minutes she's checking an email, or she gets a buzz, or a ding, or a phone call. She's like, am I going to go here for this person, or am I going to go here for this person, or am I going to do what's best for myself? Throughout the film, even though the cast is fine, we'd get things about these characters that would just make them so unrealistic and unrelatable that it started to become frustrating. I mean, at the beginning, people are getting really upset because that other person is trying to make the best decision for themselves instead of catering to their needs. Wow. Unbelievable. You mean to tell me you're trying to do what's best for you instead of doing what's best for me? And I'm sitting back thinking, why are so many people in this film just extremely selfish when it comes to decision making in that process? I mean, I guess it does apply to real life, but there's so many people doing that, it just feels unrealistic at a point. And then we get into the beach house and the bucket list and doing things to appease Lee because he's really upset at the fact that Elle is leaving. So she's like, you know what, we're going to have the best summer ever. And I'm sitting back thinking, okay, maybe we can get some compelling story points from this. But instead of that, it's just montage after montage after montage, voiceover after voiceover, and them going on vacation, shooting a movie, I guess, while on vacation and having fun. You know, I'm glad they're having fun. But again, I'm looking at this as a movie, as a structured film, and there's just not much to it. And how many times have we seen this in a film? We're going to make it the best summer ever. But then we get a compelling story that follows. Instead of that, we get voiceover montage, best summer ever. Voiceover montage, best summer ever. And it felt so repetitive, and I really wanted to, you know, at a point, get back to the thing that was frustrating me in the beginning. It's like, let's make a decision, let's talk about our futures here, and we get to that eventually, and again, the end is going to appease fans, but it's just the journey getting to that point. And the interactions between the teenagers, they just don't really feel realistic. Lines like, oh, this place is killer, we thought you were poor, and the interaction between the guy that is already at Berkeley and then the guy who is going to Berkeley, it almost felt like a cartoon. It's like adults writing dialogue for teenagers when they don't really know how teenagers speak to each other. And I understand, you're trying to write it for a specific crowd, and it's almost like you're living in your fantasies in this movie, but at least make it compelling. And it wasn't compelling. And then you get all of the unrealistic things that you may not even be paying attention to, and it might seem like a nitpick on my end, but man, when things happen in this movie, it's always in front of a crowd. And that crowd, when we get the B-roll footage of everyone freaking out, they're not just freaking out. Every person who witnesses everything our core group of characters are doing in this film, they act like they just won the lottery. And I look at the Mario Kart scene. That's right. There's a Mario Kart scene in here. It was very off-putting at first. and it gets violent. But the crowd, when we will cut to them as they're racing, man, they are losing their minds. And then we get a dance number. That's right, a flash mob a bit later on when people are celebrating that flash mob. And these are adults, right? Sitting there trying to eat dinner, and then they get interrupted by this flash mob. Instead of like, oh, okay, cool, man. They just want a free trip to Disney World. I've never seen people celebrate all throughout this movie harder than anyone in real life would celebrate. And I know it's a stupid criticism, but come on, man. If you're going for a bit of realism here, then make it realistic here. We have to have that all throughout the movie. Otherwise, what's the point of trying to make it compelling in the first place? One thing I do wish this movie would have done, with this franchise, is focus a little bit more on her relationship with her father and bringing in someone new, and that being extremely frustrating, understandably so. Now, does she lash out to a level that I thought was a bit overboard? Absolutely. And we do get a resolve, sure. But man, I just felt that teen angst all throughout the film. And it was so evident in this sequel. I mean, it was evident in the last movie as well, and I guess the first, but it was so prominent in this film. It really started to bother me around the halfway point. And at a point, I'm like, is there going to be any more to this movie other than just going out and doing things on summer vacation? Where's the kissing booth? And I guess there's a bit of a kissing booth at the end. But if you don't care about the characters, and if you're not on board with this story at this point, you're not going to like Kissing Booth 3. If you do, and you followed along and you were excited, you're going to like it. This is one of those few movies I can look at and say, you probably know whether you're going to like it or not before you watch the film, because you know exactly what to expect. So what you think this movie is, it is. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So before I give you my score, thanks so much for watching. Did you enjoy this movie on Netflix? Are you a fan of the franchise? Repetitive and exhausting. The third film feels aimless from start to finish. The cast has enough life to keep the hardcore fans engaged, but the surrounding story falls completely flat. I'm going a 22% for The Kissing Booth 3 on Netflix. It's one of those franchises where I can really appreciate the cast and the charisma from some of the characters. But at the end of the day, it's the story, it's the execution, it's the constant voiceover and montages, yada, yada, yada. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys for being here. If you enjoyed this review, sorry for the negativity, but if you enjoyed this review and you want to support this channel, be sure to drop your thumbs up down below and let me know. What would you like to see me review on Netflix next? Don't worry, Free Guy Review is coming Thursday evening. See you soon.